little sister almost burnt herself. She tried to touch the hot light bulb. Then she cried when I stopped her.
Your little sister didn't know that the bulb would hurt her. I'm glad you were there to make sure she was safe. I'm Zach, and you're listening to Keys for Kids. Have you ever wondered why God doesn't answer every prayer in exactly the way you asked Him to? Well, it's because even though you want something and ask God for it, He knows if it's good for you or not. And that means sometimes His answer is no, and sometimes not right now. While those don't always seem like good answers, remember this: God has the best things planned for you just because you're a Christian. Romans 8:28 is a great promise that says, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him." Our story today is called Brother Knows Best. "No, Jena." Kegan's words startled his little sister as he pulled her hand away from the lamp. Jena started to cry and squirmed out of her brother's grasp. "What's going on?" asked Mom as she entered the living room. "Jena was trying to reach the light bulb. I guess she didn't know the bulb was hot and would burn her." Mom sighed. "Right now she's at that stage where she wants to touch everything she sees. I'm glad you stopped her before she hurt herself." That evening, Mom noticed Kegan looking glum. "What's wrong?" she asked. "I have math class tomorrow, and Mrs. Phillips is so hard. I prayed that Miss Clayton would be my math teacher this semester. Her class is always doing fun activities, and they hardly get any homework. But God didn't answer my prayer, and now I'm stuck with Mrs. Phillips." Mom sat down next to Kegan. "Remember when Jena tried to touch the lamp this afternoon?" "Yeah, but what's that got to do with God not answering my prayer?" "Jena thought touching that hot bulb would be a good idea, but you knew better," said Mom. "Maybe your situation is a little like that. Maybe God knows that being in Mrs. Phillips's class is better for you. Maybe He wants her to challenge you and help stretch your thinking so you'll grow as a student. Ever think of that?" "Well, no," replied Kegan. "As Jena gets older and realizes you know more than she does and that you want what's best for her, she'll learn to trust you more," said Mom. "We need to learn to trust God in everything, even when He doesn't answer prayer the way we wish He would. We need to remember that Jesus loves us so much, He died for us, and that He promises to be with us through life's difficulties and use them for good." "I guess you're right," Kegan said. "I want to pray and ask God to—" He stopped. "I was going to say I wanted to pray that Mrs. Phillips's class wouldn't be so hard, but really I should pray that Jesus would help me remember He loves me and will be with me no matter what." Mom smiled and gave Kegan a hug. Then they bowed their heads to pray. Well, what about you? Do you trust God to answer your prayers in the way He knows best? It can be difficult when He doesn't answer your prayer the way you were hoping He would, but know that He loves you and hears you when you pray. Tell Him how you feel and ask Him to help you with your problems. And even if you don't get your way, trust Him to be with you in whatever happens and use it for good. Our key verse is found in the New Testament letter to the Romans, chapter 8, verse 28.
"And we know that in all things, God works for the good of those who love Him."
And our key thought for the day: God can be trusted. When you read the Bible yourself, you might come across something that you don't understand and you want a little help figuring it out. I'd love to be there for you and help you answer your questions. All you've got to do is get your parents' permission, then go to keysforkids.org/HeyZach to let me know what you're trying to figure out. Your question could be featured in an issue of the Keys for Kids print devotional. Again, send me your questions at keysforkids.org/HeyZach. I would love to help you out. As always, my name is Zach. Thanks for listening to Keys for Kids. Do me a favor, share Keys for Kids with a friend, and I'll catch you both right back here tomorrow.